Okay, so I just watched that video that Isis did talking about how she married a monster. And I just had to make a reaction or my take on it because you guys know how I feel about children and their innocence. So, first off, my heart definitely goes out to her children and herself, because that is terrible. That's so terrible. And I think it's a cautionary tale of what can happen in hypergamy. I think that's what's called hypergamy, whatever, relationships, unfortunately. And hear me out. I'm not saying that only wealthy men are weirdo perverts. Like, do not misunderstand me at all. What I'm saying is that she said that there were red flags that happened before that she thought she could get over. And I wasn't watching, I was listening. So, first of all, I was totally not expecting the bomb that she dropped, which is horrible, 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 horrible. And we'll get to that. But I was not, so I didn't see what was the asterisk comment. So after I finished watching it, I went back to an older video, the first video that she just happened to pop up on my TL, where she was talking about how she went from being a single mom to marrying this guy, and I think she's in a year. And then I saw in the comments, someone had commented that she mentioned that he violated her at the beginning of their marriage. And then I didn't finish watching that because I had something to do. And I saw other comments saying that they got married after 2 weeks. So I think it's a very cautionary tale to women and men and whoever of all ages to take your time and get to know someone, especially when you already have children. And it sucks, but also, if someone will violate you, someone that you are supposed to trust and commit your life to, if that person is open to violating you and you're supposed to be their best friend, nothing is off limits for somebody that is willing to go and do those things. And you have to be very aware of that. Something else that struck me, and I want to make sure that I'm being sensitive and aware of because of this subject matter. So I'm not trying to come at her at all. So if you watch this, understand that this is just from a place of pure observation. One thing that I even asked my mom about is because in that video, she had the little asterisk thing and said that he did horrible thing to her in the first few months of her marriage. And though she was still making videos about getting a man like him, knowing what she was experiencing. And so my mom was like, well, who knows what she experienced as a youth to think that that was an okay flag to overlook, to think that someone forcing themselves on you is acceptable in marriage. So who knows what she experienced, but that stood out to me. And I was a little bit like, wow, like you knew that this is what you were experiencing and you were still telling other women and young women and whoever to go after men like this when you knew what you were experiencing and what you were going through. So that caused me to cause for a slight pause, just because it was just interesting for me. But at the same time, I don't know the whole story. Maybe he was making her make those videos, or maybe she was scared, or maybe, like some people, they'll go extra in on like projecting what they want people to think. Because then I saw another video, like most women aren't even in relationships and all this type of stuff. So I just think it's a cautionary tale that just because someone has money does not mean that they have your best interest. And yes, do you want someone that can assist with taking care of you and helping and whatever, but it's just a very interesting thing to think about. And it makes me think, okay, like what type of person, what is the mindset behind the person who is super, 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 super older, who is intentionally seeking out someone so much younger and in a vulnerable position? Okay, if they are intentionally seeking that out. And I'm not saying that that's what their situation was. But then, so I didn't finish it, but I saw that they got married, like I said, within like 2 weeks or something. And I just think it's a real cautionary tale. And I hope that she uses this opportunity now that she still has her platform, and turns it into a space where it's like how she's rebuilding, and how you can be your own sugar daddy, you know, and how to spot those weirdos. Like what are those red flags that she overlooked? Because now that she put it out there for the world to comment on, I think it would just be a good thing for her to continue to like inform, like what things did you not see? You know, what did you see that you just told yourself that it was okay to deal with? And then that way perhaps it can educate the next person. But I was just like so angry when I watched it, and I wanted to like jump in and find the man and like knock him out and stuff, because it doesn't seem like the justice system is really set up to protect like young women and stuff and children, because they don't really typically do anything until after you're hurt. And at that point, like the damage is already done. So I just was like, man, I really feel, I don't even know, like, I feel like at that point, your whole world probably just comes crashing down. Like, I don't even have children, but I have siblings, and I have students, and I have people that I care about. And oh my gosh, I don't even want to put that in the universe. I don't even want to say anything like that. But if you're wondering like what he did because you didn't watch the video, he violated her. So this man, let me just bring the story back. This man that she met online, she married in 2 weeks, and she had children already. And this is what her story that she put out there. So I'm not saying anything, because my intent is not to shame or whatever. I feel like you do what you want to do. And though it's important that we learn from those things and just pray for her children and herself and for anyone else who's been impacted by this. It's not good at all. So she married him, and then she said that in the little asterisk that he violated her a few times at the beginning of their marriage. And then she found out, and then there's other red flags that she said she could try to live with. Then she was changing her 4-year-old's diaper, trigger warning here, and she noticed some strange things. And then she went to it was like sensitive and red. And she took the babies, this is what she said, to the hospital, and she told him that they were going to do like Halloween shopping with her sister. And so she got all of them, took them to the hospital, and then had to take them to a different hospital because the one hospital apparently didn't do that test. And it's kind of like, why put someone who's traumatized through extra trauma? Like, that's the stuff I'm talking about with this system. Something is wrong, and something is not effectively functioning within the system, because there shouldn't be a place where if you or someone you know to the point where you're taking them to get tested, you shouldn't have to get turned away and go somewhere else, because it takes a lot of courage to even go through that initial process to go to that place, and then to get turned away and have to go and do something else. That just adds to the trauma. So I think that's just unacceptable in my opinion. So anyway, so then she had to go somewhere else. And so then they did the test, and this weirdo sicko allegedly violated a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I was thinking, I hope she got them boys checked too. Personally, that's what I was thinking. And it's just so unfortunate. The only side to this is maybe because they're so young, hopefully they won't remember it when they get older. That is the hope and prayer, that they're so little that it won't be something that they can even register, hopefully. But the thing is though, when a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times when children have those experiences, they exhibit signs of that. Like they start doing weird stuff with the stuffed animals and stuff, you start to just notice those things. Or suddenly they don't want to be naked. They don't want to have naked time anymore. They don't want to, there are things that happen when something like that occurs. Like the kids will start behaving weird, or they'll, start doing weird things to animals and stuff, and to their stuffed animals, or it just shows up sometimes, especially when they're that young. So I'm just like that's why I'm curious. I don't really want her to do anything because she has to heal in her own time, and I cannot say what her healing process should be. But I would hope that she would, since she brought it out, would come out and later on, when she's able to, say what she missed. What red flags were there? Did they do the stuffed animal thing? And because I know sometimes also, especially because she mentioned that she was a product of that, that nasty stuff is how she came into existence, and that the neighbor did something like that to her. So it's just horrible. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. So she's going through it right now. And though I think it would be healing as it can be, unfortunately, for her and for others, and perhaps a cautionary tale of what were the red flags. And so in that way also, if her children didn't exhibit those behaviors with stuffed animals and stuff, was there anything else that they were doing that you could, relay that to? Because she noticed it with the one daughter, but it turns out he was doing it to both of the daughters. And I don't know if they're her daughters or theirs, but still, it doesn't effing matter. They're children. So, and is that why he married her so fast? Because he wanted to have access to her children? What the man? I'm so mad at. I'm just not pleased with that guy. And the situation is just horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. And so, yeah, I just wonder, were there any signs that was happening other than the obvious one? And I'm thankful that she did something, but I do know that sometimes for people, it's harder to address, and I'm not saying that this is what happened with her at all, but sometimes it's harder for people to address what it is, so then they just act like it's not happening, or they act like they're not seeing the red flags, and as my mom would say, they paint them green so that they can just act like it's not occurring or it's not happening. But I'm just curious, what were those red flags? And man, I really hope for the children's sake that they're not old enough to remember it. And she has now 5 kids, I think. So it's going to be doubly hard now. And she has older children. So I'm certain they are somehow aware of this. And if they have access to internet, they might have seen her video. Her boys are traumatized. And then, to be frank, if someone would do something like that, what else are they capable of? So I would really be thinking, oh my gosh, what about my boys? That's what I would be thinking. I would be thinking, what about any other kid that I had in my house? And then what else was going on? So I'm just really praying for her and her children and everybody involved, because that's something that I wouldn't wish on anybody. I wouldn't wish that on literally anybody at all. And I'm just There are some things that are just egregious. And like, I have evolved so much that like I don't get mad very often. I don't get upset very often anymore. But that was something that I was mad about when I heard it, because how do you, like, I don't even want to dive into it because disgusting, but like, who finds children attractive? That's sick. And like, as much as it makes me also think, like, as much as she thought she was targeting him, was he targeting her? Because like, when you're older, you have a lot of wisdom. So like, some of these guys, are they targeting the women? Like, everyone's like, oh, gold digger, gold digger, gold digger. But are we looking at the wrong thing here? Like, perhaps they're targeting, but like, who's really the prey and who's really the predator? Who really has the power? I'm so just like, man, I don't envy her, you know. That's sad. It's very sad. And I hope that the kids don't remember it. I'm praying for all of them, because that's sick to be violated in your own home. You know, that's crazy. That's crazy to be violated in your own home, in your own bed, perhaps in your own space. That's like, not only is it disgusting, but it's so disrespectful. To violate someone in the place where they're supposed to be safe is just ridiculous, and it's just insane to me. I can't even understand that, and I'm so disgusted by that situation, and I'm so saddened for her too, and her children, and the perpetrator. Because what type of, first of all, did he experience as a child, and as, you know, to do something so horrible? And then like, what the is going on there, man? And it's that stuff again. He was very active apparently in religion. There's a lot of these weirdos who be up in church who really be doing weird, nasty stuff behind closed doors. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot more than it should be. One is too many, but there's a lot. There's jokes about preachers and popes for a reason, and Catholic priests for, why is that? You're supposed to be so holy, and you are holy. You're nasty, and you're putting your stuff in every hole there is. So then it makes me think, okay, well, what about the children in his community? Sick effer. And honestly, I just have a lot of questions, but not a lot of questions because that's such a sensitive thing, and I don't want to add any, you know, fuel to that. I don't want to make her feel bad. I don't want to make her children feel bad. And so like, I have questions, but like, I don't have questions, because you can't force anyone to heal. And I don't know how, as a mother, you could heal from that, honestly. But the only thing I can think of, honestly, is to like be a cautionary tale for others. That's the best thing you can do out of that. And then like, if it was hard to be a single mom of two who are not in diapers, so they can't take care of themselves, but you know, they can wipe themselves, they can shower themselves. To be a single mom of two that can kind of, you know, help out. And now you're a single mom of 5 with a newborn and a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old who you now have to look at every day, knowing that this horrible thing happened to them. Whew, Lord. But you know what? At least she did something about it. Because there are, and we're going to get into that. Oh yeah, because this unlocked a lot. There are people and women and parents who will look the other way. So at least she didn't do that. At least when it came down to her children, she stood the F up. And she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to stay in this with my kids. And I hope that the laws change, because there's just certain things you can't come back from. And I don't think people that violate children and do weird things to kids, I don't think you should be allowed to keep just being around. That's all I'll say. Just my opinion. Oh, Lord. Well, I'm wishing and praying for healing, guidance, and lessons for all of us. And hopefully the system will change, because I can't imagine going to a hospital and going through the trauma of going to the hospital just with all the kids with you, just to have to turn around and go to a different hospital because they don't do the procedure. That's so freaking crazy to me. I feel like that should just be a requirement. I don't know. But I'm praying for her and her family, and for everybody if anyone's dealing with that.